Now, what do we do during our spare time? We bake cakes, dress up, and sometimes run long-distance races to raise money for charity. Michelle Rowe from Bishop Stortford has gone one better by walking the entire length of Malawi. Now, that's around 50,000 square miles to me and you. A light stroll for two, possibly, but it certainly beats my Sunday stroll in the park. I need to do more exercise. She's raising money for schools hit by floods that displaced up to 250,000 people earlier this year. And Michelle runs the Inspire Malawi charity that supports schools in central Malawi. And she joins me on the phone now. Michelle, I've got to say, it's an achievement. I mean, what kind of egg do you on to do it?
Well, I was teaching in central London. I just started a new job and I wasn't feeling very fulfilled. And in the news, I learned about the terrible flooding in the south and spoke to my trustees that helped me to run the charity and said, I think our next project needs to be supporting these people in the south to have some better access to education and also to repair any of the damaged buildings. And so I've been watching and reading a lot of stories about people taking epic journeys, and I think the film Wild had just come out. And I looked into it and thought, actually, this is pretty doable.
It gave you the buzz to do it. Now, I mean, the only time I actually run is for a bus, because if I've got to get to a meeting, that's the only time that I run. I mean, you are on your legs. I mean, how long did it take you to complete the whole leg?
Well, it took 54 days, and although I'm a sports teacher, I'm not enormously fit either. So I think this was the other thing. I thought to myself, the people that run these marathons back to back and do these big walks, I'm not one of those people. But before heading out to Africa, I did go on some longer walks and try and build up my stamina. And each day, I didn't set an enormous target because I wanted to make it manageable, and also I didn't want to cause myself any injuries. So I walked between 20 and 25 kilometres per day. And I also made sure I walked in the early morning, so I avoided the heat.
When was the best time for you to train? Was it early in the morning or was it late at night?
To walk, in Malawi I was walking early in the morning, but in UK I was walking before and after work and also in the holidays.
Now, before you sort of embarked on doing it, I mean, were you scared at all? Did you think, I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to get on. I'm just going to book the next flight and come back home.
Well, there were a lot of unknowns because I've been going to Malawi for 13 years now, so I know the people there are really warm and friendly. I've travelled a lot of Malawi in the past anyway. So the things I was anxious for was, would I be able to access water easily? Would I be able to come across a village every 20 or 25 kilometres? Because I didn't stay in lodges on the way. I was camping with village headmen in the villages. And I hadn't been any further north than a town called Koronga. So I was really unsure if I'd even find anywhere safe to camp every night. So it was a bit of a adventure. And
food as well. I mean, you must have had cravings, dying for a Chinese or an Indian or fried chicken. I mean,
well, it's funny, yeah.
You must have said to yourself, this is not going to happen for a long time.
Well, Malawian villagers tend to eat a lot of maize, and along the northern lakeshore they were eating cassava. And I do eat fish, thankfully, because along the lakeshore it's pretty much all I ate every day. Small usipa, they call them, which is similar to whitebait. And I did eat a lot of leaves of pumpkin, tree leaves even, onions, tomatoes.
Were the leaves safe to eat?
Yeah, they were, yeah. They were quite tasty, actually, and I found because I was so hungry after all that exertion in the mornings that I was really quite looking forward to the maize and the fish and the leaves and eggs. I ate a lot of eggs as well. Walking.
So lots of protein.
Yeah, lots of protein. Yeah, it was good.
I want to find out. I want you to take me back to your routine. What sort of kept you sort of psyched up on every day? I mean, what was it? Take me through, say, an average day from from when sort of you woke up through till the end of the day.
Okay. Well, I'd wake up when the village woke up, and by that I mean the village is full of cockerels for a kickoff, guinea fowl. It's full of goats, it's full of people. And they wake up so early. I mean, some mornings I'd wake up at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, whenever the cockerels decided to wake up. I was in a one-man tent, which I only had about half a metre in order to manoeuvre. So I'd wake up, pack up the tent. Normally by about 4:45, I'd be on my way with my walking friend Gibson, who's a Malawian boy. And we'd walk normally for about 2 hours solid first thing in the morning. It was a really nice time to walk because all of the butterflies are out, all of the birds are around. I see the sunrise almost every day. That was really special. Greeting people constantly as you're walking along, waving and saying hello. And then after a couple of hours, I'd stop and we'd try to refuel our water or stop for a cold Coke because it's crazy. Although they're mud brick buildings and they seem really isolated, you'll come across a little village shop and inside they'll have a fridge full of ice cold glass bottled Coke, which sounds crazy, but there's a bottling plant in Malawi, so that was a real treat.
Were you tempted?
Oh, absolutely. I drank loads of Coca-Cola, which I was then very conscious of the amount of sugar I was eating, but I think I was burning it off. So after another hour, I would stop and have something to eat, maybe banana, or they sell small donuts at the side of the road, which is also great.
Was that help? I'm not sure whether donuts are healthy if you're doing.
No,
you're
they're
doing
not.
That. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not. I think I was just able to burn it off. I think if I'd eaten donuts and drank Coke every day for 54 days in UK, I'd be enormous. But thankfully, I was burning it all off. And then for the final hour, by this point, my feet are hurting, my hips are hurting, my back's hurting. I actually had my iPod with me, but I tried not to listen to it for the most of the day so that I could be really present and enjoy where I was and look at the sights and sounds. But for the final hour, when I was hurting and needing some motivation, I'd listen to music, and I actually listened to a lot of podcasts as well.
What kind of music were you listening to?
Oh, goodness. I've got quite an eclectic taste in music, so a variety of things. I did quite like a lot of power ballads, so Celine Dion was egging me on a lot of days.
Sorry, I'm just cracking up here thinking, gosh, it's like downtime.
I'm sure you don't play a lot of Celine Dion on your station.
No, we do during the day. Not Celine Dion doesn't really kind of hit the mark on a Sunday night, but Nick Coffer and Roberto and the rest of the team during the day. I'm sure Celine Dion creeps up somewhere. So the power ballads, did it kind of help in terms of trying to calm you down, or did it I'm just trying to think.
It's
power ballads in terms of motivation. Yeah,
it is, because it's nice to sort of, I wasn't singing along out loud obviously because I didn't want to frighten the life out of Gibson walking next to me or the villagers, but I did mouth it in a powerful way.
Oh my word. I mean, in terms of downtime or when things went wrong, how did you manage to keep yourself motivated and say, listen, I've got to get through this? Because there might have been times where you said to yourself, I've had enough of this. I just want to go home.
Yeah, well, I think I was really sort of in the right space mentally for it. I think if I'd have attempted that walk a year ago, I would have found it a lot harder. But I think, I didn't feel tied to UK. I was really seeking an adventure, and I love Malawi anyway, and I also love the sunshine. So I didn't really have any times where I sort of wanted it to be over, but I definitely had times when I was feeling tired or in the afternoons I was quite bored on some occasions because I'd sometimes be finished for the whole day walking by about 10 a.m., depending on how quickly I walked. So then I had the whole afternoon to sit and do nothing really apart from recover because I was too tired to go off exploring and walking about. So there was a lot of downtime to meet the chiefs and chat with the villagers, read my Kindle, read a book, write my diary.
What were the chiefs like? What was it like meeting up with them?
Fascinating. They were truly fascinating. And I came across several different tribal chiefs across the country. And obviously the language also changes as you move down the country. My favourite was up in the north, actually, in Karonga. I met a Tumbukan chief, paramount chief for the whole district. And I was invited to stay, instead of in my tent, in the house of one of his elders, which was a really special experience. And we sat outside under the stars, and he was telling me all about the Tumbuka people and their traditions and how they came to be in that part of Malawi. And that was fascinating. Yeah, really special, really special.
Wow, that must have been a special moment. I mean, were all the chiefs the same, friendly? I mean, was there anyone in particular that you thought, well, they were the best chief?
That one was very special. I think my favourite... There were a lot of chiefs who I met who spoke fantastic English, which was such a blessing because I was able to ask them all my questions. A lot of them actually were retired teachers, and I'm also a teacher, so that's always a good starting point. But it's nice to be able to ask them all my questions. I'd say my favourite chief in terms of what we got up to in the afternoon would be a chief close to a village called Gulamoti. He was of the Chewa tribe, and he invited me to see dance. It's the Chewa. It's called the Great Dance. It's called Guliwamkulu, and it involves a man in a full costume with mask, dancing with drums, with women around him, and it's very, very special. And having been in Malawi for 13 years, I'd never seen it before. So
see, there's me being ignorant now. Think, you're taking me back to a moment where I've probably seen that watching a James Bond movie, but you were there and you saw it. I mean, that's amazing.
I did, yeah. It sort of hit me. This is a real sort of National Geographic kind of documentary moment, and I felt really privileged. And it was just a very atmospheric sort of moment in any case, because I just reached Dedza, which is very hilly, and it was dusk, so the hills were blue and the sky was pink, and there was all this drumming and music, and it was just really, really wonderful.
Now, I want you to take me back to the moment when you finished, but did you realise that you'd finished, or was it just like, was it like a blur? Did you just think that, hang on a minute, I've got to do another, I've got to do it for another 54 days or something?
Well, it was enormously hot. It was so hot. I dropped to about 35 metres above sea level, and the temperature was in the mid 40s. So walking during that week and a half was really, really hard work. And my map, was wrong on many occasions, unfortunately. So I didn't really know how far it was from Nsanje, which is the most southerly town in Malawi, to the border itself. Because on my map, it looked about 20 kilometres. But then upon speaking with the locals, it was anywhere, they sort of ranged in guessing between 30 and 40 kilometres. So I didn't know if I'd hit it on that morning when I set off, or whether it would take longer. So it kind of just appeared, and it was so underwhelming that I kind of didn't realise it was the border, because it was just 3 plastic cones and a metal pole across them, a small brick building and a tree with 4 shirtless immigration officials sitting next to it because it was so hot.
Yeah.
I kind of said to Gibson, "Is that it?" And he was like, "Yeah."
We've done it.
Yeah, and then I got all emotional and had a little cry and called my family back in UK.
Oh, that's incredible. You're going back to Malawi in January.
I am, yes. I'm heading back in January for 3 or 4 months. I'm doing some volunteer teaching in the city, Lilongwe, and I also am preparing for a group of sixth form students to come out and join me from Bishop Stortford, Hertfordshire.
Yeah, I was going to say, take it easy with the walking. I was like, another challenge. I was like, that might be that will be challenging in its own right.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, it's funny though. I do miss the walking. I am missing the exercise, especially now I'm back here and it's freezing and it's pitch black in the mornings.
Yeah, no, for sure. Listen, what a great story. Been lovely to speak to you this evening. That was Michelle Rowe from Bishop Stortford, who walked the entire length of Malawi.